Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public information meeting for state project number 148-215, the replacement of bridges 3129, 3130, and 3131. These bridges are East Center Street, New Rock Hill Road, and Durham Road over I-91 in Wallingford, Connecticut. A couple of things that I want to note for the people in our audience is at the back of the presentation hall, there's a sign-in sheet. Please make sure you fill it out for us, for our records of who was in attendance. And there are also a series of comment response forms if you would like to leave a written comment before you leave this evening. We'll also go over some other ways that you can leave comments or ask questions subsequent to this meeting tonight. Tonight, we're going to review some of the various ways to access this presentation, ways to access closed captioning and translation services, if those would be beneficial to people reviewing the slides and to the meeting itself. We are also going to review where you can view the content online after the meeting if you are unable to attend or participate in the full meeting tonight. We're also going to review some of the project-specific information for the bridge replacement project, including the proposed concept, potential impacts, the current construction schedule, and budget. And then we'll conclude the evening with a question and answer session where people both online and in person will be able to ask questions or provide feedback on what we are proposing for this evening. My colleague, Beth LaPlante, my deputy task lead for the project, is now going to review some of these elements for you.
If you're viewing this presentation on Zoom, you have the option to view captions or subtitles for this presentation. To turn on this feature, select the Close Captioning button on the lower right corner of your screen to turn on captioning. Then choose the language by selecting the settings wheel next to the Close Captioning button. Select Captions, Subtitles, and then select the language. When viewing this video on YouTube, you can also select Closed Captioning as well as follow along via transcript. No person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. If you feel that you need to reach out, there will be information on the next slide on how to do so. We ask and greatly appreciate if you can fill out the very brief feedback survey at the end of this presentation. It is located at these two hyperlinks as well as the QR code. You can also find it on the webpage for this project. The survey will help Connecticut DOT improve these public meetings going forward. The Connecticut Department of Transportation, CTDOT, or CTDOT, operates its programs and services without regard to race, color, and national origin in accordance with the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes she or he has been aggrieved by any unlawful discriminatory practice under Title VI may file a complaint with the Connecticut DOT. For more information on this, you can visit ct.gov/DOT. This is the same information in Spanish. There are multiple ways to reach out with questions or comments for this project. Before we start the presentation and introduce the project team, I'd like to go over those options. Our presentation will last about 45 minutes or less, and once it's completed, we'll answer each question and answer received. You may send questions before October 8th, 2025. You can do so by email. The two options are listed on the screen, by phone, or by using Zoom, or visiting our project webpage. To submit a question or comment through Zoom Q&A option, you click on the Q&A icon on the bottom of the meeting page. Type in your question in the pop-up window. We will review the questions at the very end, and they'll be monitored. Now, Jeff will introduce you to the project team.
Thank you, Beth. So our project team at ConnDOT is led by Chris Angelotti, Division Chief of Construction Operations, followed by Jennifer Sweeney, Principal Engineer of Central Construction, Rick Prescott, Supervising Engineer of Alternative Contracting, Tom Lance, who's able to join us this evening in person, Project Engineer of Alternative Contracting, and Maria Verdrago from Alternative Contracting, who's with us on Zoom, as well as Kathleen Erickson, who is able to join us this evening from the DOT's right-of-way unit. The H&TB project team is led by Jody Ann O'Connor, Deputy Project Manager for the Alternative Contracting program. Myself, Jeffrey Thoreau, the task lead for this Wallingford design-build project. Beth LaPlante is my deputy task lead. Raymond Looney is the deputy environmental lead for the program, and Danielle Wong is here for our public involvement lead, as well as her deputy, Gabby Strain, who'll be working the Zoom meeting in the Zoom chat. From the town of Wallingford, we are pleased to work with our partners, including the mayor, who I welcome to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Jeffrey. We were first contacted about this project a little over a year and a half ago and participated in a Zoom meeting. Obviously, this project is crucial. It goes without saying that nobody wants to be over or under a failing bridge, and we're looking forward to the work being done. And we're certainly grateful for the great detail that's going into the planning throughout the project and our ability to participate in it. From our first meeting, we've had engineering, public works staff, and both public safety departments. You know, I-91 does divide the lower east side of town from the rest of us, and so we're looking forward to the work that's going to be done to make sure that we continue to have access to all the neighborhoods in Wallingford, especially throughout the project. Jeffrey, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Additionally, we also have been working with the Director of Public Works, Allison, Town Engineer, and Tiffany, the Assistant Town Engineer. And so thank you all for joining us tonight. Now to talk a little bit about the project specifics. So as I introduced in the beginning, the project consists of the replacement of 3 bridges over I-91. On the bottom of the screen is Bridge 3129, or East Center Street over 91. Followed, moving north, is Bridge 3130, which is New Rock Hill Road over 91. And finally, Bridge 3131, which is Durham Road over I-91. The purpose and need of the project is to address existing structural deficiencies with these 3 bridges and provide transportation infrastructure that is in a state of good repair for the ongoing maintenance of the transportation infrastructure across the state. Some of the existing conditions on the various bridges that led us to the need to replace them is on Bridge 3129, which was built in 1965. There are condition ratings between poor and fair condition on the various structural elements of the bridge. For Bridge 3130, which is New Rock Hill Road, was also built in 1965 and has condition ratings between poor and good condition on the various structural elements. Finally, Bridge 3131, which is Durham Road, you have condition ratings that are in the fair range for the various structural elements. And through the various pictures, you can see some of the existing conditions that are from the various inspections that have taken place on the bridge structures. Now, you may have heard us use the term alternative contracting or design build. Alternative contracting is a general term. For this project, it is going to be design build, which is one of those alternative contracting methods. And so what is design build? Design build is one of these methodologies that is different from the standard way that a project is bid in the industry, which we call design bid build. In a design build project, there is a team that is selected that consists of a contractor and a design team, and they're selected based on their best value. And you may ask, what is the best value? Best value is a combination of their qualifications, their price proposal that they submitted to complete the work, as well as their technical approach on how they would complete the project in design and construction. The selected team advances the project through final design and constructs the project based on the accepted design by CONDOT. To give you a visualization of how these two methods differ, we have the top one, which is the typical delivery method, which is design bid build, and you can see it operates in a very sequential manner. Versus design build, there is efficiencies that are achieved by overlapping phases. And then you also have the added benefit of the contractor working with the design team rather than in a sequential manner. Now, some of these project specifics. What you see on the screen is the proposed condition for East Center Street. This includes the replacement of Bridge 3129, the replacement of the traffic signal at South Airline Road and the I-91 southbound off-ramp, and the construction of a new sidewalk on the south side of East Center Street between South Airline Road and Tamarack Road. And you can see that in the sections. As many of you are probably aware, there is existing condition is one travel lane in each direction with a painted median in the middle. That's going to be replaced by 5-foot wide paved shoulders, travel lane in each direction, and that sidewalk on the south side. Additionally, the design is calling for a 2.5-foot wide buffer on either side, so that way the bridge is constructed for future use, should there ever be a desire to have sidewalk on both sides, both north and south side of the bridge. The bridge doesn't have to be augmented at that point. It'll already be wide enough. The second of our structures is New Rock Hill Road. And as you can see, the existing section consists of a travel lane in each direction and a sidewalk on the north side. We're maintaining that proposed condition, but we're redistributing the cross-section to make sure we provide a 5-foot wide paved shoulder in each direction to allow for bike accommodations. In addition, we're currently proposing to replace the existing sidewalk that is on the north side of New Rock Hill Road from Jobs Road to Shetland Drive. Finally, on Durham Road, the existing condition is a slightly narrower bridge with one travel lane in each direction. And we are widening the structure to include the 5-foot wide paved shoulders, as well as a new 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on the south side of Durham Road. This will extend the existing sidewalk that comes out of the Woodman's Hill Road development and currently terminates at the east side of the bridge crossing. It'll now extend across the bridge and around the horizontal curve at Grebe Road. So that way there is sufficient sight distance for pedestrians navigating that corner. Now, my colleague Raymond is going to discuss some of the potential impacts with the various improvements that are being proposed.
Thank you. For natural resources in the project area, early environmental resource screenings have identified the potential presence of the state endangered northern long-eared bat, there we are, and the threatened monarch butterfly. Programmatic consultation is currently ongoing with the United States Fish and Wildlife Services. Wetlands and watercourses exist at all 3 bridges. Minor, temporary, and permanent impacts are anticipated. The exact areas are currently unknown, and as design advances, they will become more clear. The anticipated regulatory permits include the United States Army Corps of Engineers, Section 404, General Permits 18 and 19, and the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, Water Resource Construction Activities General Permits. For historical and archaeological resources, there was potentially eligible resources identified adjacent to North Airline Road, which is near the New Rock Hill Road Bridge, and Durham Road. Section 106 coordination is ongoing with the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, and no adverse effects are anticipated. Further, Section 106 consultation is required and ongoing with the Tribal Historic Preservation Office, and no adverse effects are anticipated. And now Beth LaPlante will talk about potential construction staging.
Thank you, Raymond. So one of the first things that comes across when we talk about doing a project is, how is this going to impact my drive? So I'm here to talk about the potential staging concepts at East Center Street. I want to remind you that Jeff mentioned that this is a design build project, not a design bid build. So we are presenting the concept of what is happening, not what has been designed, or making promises of what will look like at all. So the design team may suggest going about a 2-stage construction. It is definitely possible within our constraints. It would look like stage 1 of pushing all the traffic to one side of the roadway. So we would maintain traffic in both directions, so there would be no reduction of lanes. And we would provide protection for pedestrians. That would allow the new bridge to be constructed to the side, which would be the southern side of the roadway, away from the ramps. Stage 2 then would allow the pedestrians to use the newly built sidewalk and move some traffic to the newly built bridge and build the rest of the bridge. This would require some realignment, but it is a likely scenario that could happen. The other options for staging would look similar to this, where we could have a stage construction similar to East Center Street, or going to something like a signalized alternating one-way traffic. That sounds kind of confusing, but we have a picture here down on the bottom that was taken in Massachusetts recently. And it would have one lane going at a time, taking turns going over the bridge with a temporary traffic signal. Another option is that there could be full closure at either Durham or New Rock Hill Road, but note that we would not allow the contracting team and design team to close both of those roads at the same time. It would be one at a time. The potential detour would look similar to the red route that is provided. We are working with the town and the school districts to make sure that we will not be having any adverse effects on your traffic that could be avoided. Additionally, there will be some utility impacts, some of which we know will definitely be impacted. There are water mains attached to all 3 bridges. You can see that in the top right picture. It's that round structure attached to the bridge. There are different size pipes on all 3 of the bridges. We are working with Wallingford Water and Sewer to mitigate and minimize any disruption to the people that use these water sources. Similarly, Frontier Communication has conduits on the bridge. You can see that in the bottom picture. It's those 4 little lines that are running against the bridge or with the bridge. We are also working with Frontier to schedule and coordinate how that can be accommodated. There's likely going to be utility pole relocations for the sidewalks. We are working with Wallingford Electric and Frontier Communications, who are the owners of these poles, as well as the service providers that are on those poles. We are aware that this is a public drinking watershed, and we are coordinating with the town of Wallingford and the Wallingford Water and Sewer Division. For rights-of-way, we are anticipating some minor impacts at East Center Street and Tamarack Road. That's mostly for adding the sidewalk and guide rail improvements. We're also anticipating property impacts at New Rock Hill Road, also for the sidewalk. These impacts are going to be finalized and property maps will be prepared once the final concepts have been approved by the design team. I'd now like to introduce Kathleen to come over and speak about the process of rights-of-way.
Great, thank you, Beth. So again, my name is Kathleen Erickson, and I'm a project coordinator with the department's Division of Rights-of-Way. Our office is responsible for acquiring property rights that are needed for transportation projects all throughout the state. So I'll just be giving you a brief overview of what the acquisition process looks like. Before I get further into that, I do want to mention again that the property impacts right now are still being developed, so they could change and progress as the design is going on. Also, any property rights that are acquired are done so in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes, Sections 13A-73 and 13A-98E, as well as the Uniform Act. So the right-of-way acquisition process begins once the project reaches a development milestone and all of the property impacts have been determined. At that point, each affected property owner will receive from our office a formal letter of intent to acquire, as well as a property map depicting the exact property rights to be acquired. You can see on the screen just a sample of what the property maps look like. Next, our office will determine the fair market value of those property rights, which will be used to create an offer of just compensation. The property owner will receive the offer in writing, and a right-of-way agent will be available to meet with them to discuss the project, their specific property impacts, and the offer itself. The property owner will be given a reasonable amount of time to consider the state's offer and to enter into negotiations. And then once an agreement has been reached, the department will prepare all the necessary documents in order to record the deed and the property map on the town land records. Now, if an agreement cannot be reached, in order to maintain the project schedule, the department may acquire the necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain. If that were to happen, the state would file a notice of condemnation with the Superior Court, along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the state's offer. The property owner would then have 6 months to file an appeal if they felt the state's offer was inadequate. Now, whether or not the owner chooses to appeal, the money that was deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner at any time. It is important to note, too, the state will only be acquiring the property rights that are necessary for the project. But if there are any questions regarding the right-of-way acquisition process, I'm happy to answer them during the Q&A portion of tonight's meeting. But for now, I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Kathleen. As we start down the home stretch of this evening's presentation, I want to review some of the key schedule milestones for the project. So here we sit tonight, September 24th, 2025, for the public information meeting. We're currently scheduled to issue the request for proposals, or RFP, to shortlisted design build teams that are interested in submitting on the project in August of 2026. Then there's contract award in May of 2027, and the notice to proceed to the selected team in June of 2027. Spring 2028 is when we estimate full construction activities would begin. And as you can see, in the intervening time between June and the spring of 2028, several activities could be occurring that you would see out there in the field. Those could include utility relocations and some early construction activities that the design build team submits to begin work on without full construction activities beginning. During this time, the contractor will also be working with their design consultant to finalize the design and receive DOT's approval. The project budget currently sits at between $60 and $90 million for the replacement of all three bridges for the project, and it is currently anticipated to be funded through 80% federal funds and 20% state funding. I want to take a moment to thank you for those who have joined us both in person and online as part of the Zoom meeting and participating in this presentation. Your valuable input and comments and questions are always appreciated. We're now going to open our question and answer period. Even if you choose not to comment tonight via Zoom or in person, as was mentioned earlier, there is a 2-week comment period until October 8th. And as Beth went through, and I'm going to leave up on the screen while we do our Q&A session, those questions or comments can be submitted via email, phone, or through other means on the project webpage. Does anybody have any questions in person or on Zoom? Yes. If you can come up to the microphone, please.
Hi, good evening. Christina Tata, I'm from the Wallingford Town Council. 2 questions. Number 1, will all 3 bridges being worked on simultaneously? Is that the plan?
So, given this is design build, there is some flexibility in that. And as Beth talked about during the staging, we have limited that they are not allowed to close or restrict access for Durham and New Rock Hill Road at the same time. So that way emergency response can always have one of those roads to go across. East Center Street, they will have to maintain 1 lane of traffic in each direction at all times. It is possible you could have 2 of the bridges being worked on at the same time.
Okay, thank you. And then I saw the estimated start date was spring of 2028. Do we have an estimated completion date?
So we're currently estimating that it's going to be 3 construction seasons. But that, again, will depend on the contractor that's selected and their various means of how they choose to stage their work and approach the project.
Sure. And the 3 seasons would be for all 3 bridges, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you for your comment. Okay. Yes.
Jeff Cohan, Planning and Zoning member. Actually have a ton of questions. I mean, this is a major project. I was a little, I don't know what the right word is, your design build selection. How does that actually work? You know, you mentioned 3 criteria: price, best value. Do you look at past performance? A lot of times, you know, just looking at price, you don't get the best contractor. You know, who on DOT, you know, as part of that selection?
Sure. Let me start with that question. I know you have others. So the selection process, so there is a selection panel that has been established by 4 representatives from the DOT, and the supervising engineer of alternative contracting sits as the kind of non-voting kind of advisor to the panel. There were 3 components: qualifications, price, and their technical approach. You asked about prior experience and their, you know, if they had any issues, that would be where the qualifications portion would come into play. And there's a equation that's set up as part of the RFP that weights those different criterias that changes project to project.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna skip over a few of these questions, but local participation. You know, we've got members of engineering, police department. You know, is this a project that will come before Wallingford Planning and Zoning? I mean, it is, you know, a state project, state owns the bridges, but you are touching Wallingford property. Will Planning and Zoning hear this as an application?
I don't want to commit 100%, but based upon my prior experience, I don't believe we would submit directly to Planning and Zoning through an application. We have been in contact with the engineering department and reviewed the project with them. Any coordination comments, you know, prerogatives that, you know, planning might have should be fed through engineering, and we'll work with the DOT to address those or respond to those.
Okay. What impacts, you really didn't mention this, what are the impacts to 91?
So the permanent impacts to I-91, or you mean
Yeah,
during
let me rephrase that a little bit. What are the traffic implications to 91? You really didn't touch on that.
Sure. So we work with the Connecticut DOT's traffic unit, and they have a limitation of operations restriction table, so to speak, that goes in the technical requirements for the project, and it will identify when they can take lanes and when they can't take lanes as part of the project. So, so an example of that would be during peak hours. Many times you're either not allowed to take a lane, or you can only take one lane, that type of thing. So that limitation of operations table that's generated by the DOT traffic unit would govern what those restrictions are.
Okay, so yes, there will be impacts to traffic on
Yes.
91. And the construction is going to be 3 bridges concurrently. So 91 basically through most of southern Wallingford will be impacted by this.
Yes. Again, as we discussed earlier, not all 3 may be worked on at the same time. All 3 may not have impacts to 91 at the same time, maybe because they might be doing topside work, you know what I mean? And not necessarily impacting 91 all at the same time. So I just want to make that clear.
Right, but
Yeah.
the potential
Yeah.
is there.
Yep.
Okay, and I'll do one more question. You know, your construction timeline.
Sure.
You know, you said you're going to start spring of 2028, but I think what I heard you say is construction is going to start spring of 2028, but you're still going to be finalizing the design at that point. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, let me just flip back, it's only a few slides back. So, so as you can see on the screen, June of 2027 is the notice to proceed given to the design build team. And then spring of 2028 is when we anticipate they'll have full design approval at that point of their final design plans, and they'll be able to kind of do all of their construction activities that they have planned out. But they may do some early work in that intervening year.
Okay, thank you. I do have other questions, but I'm going to write them and submit them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
We did get one question online, but it was also asking about the impacts to I-91.
Okay. So I asked that person on Zoom if they have follow-up question to please submit that question again.
Ed Holman, a resident of Wallingford. My question is similar to Mr. Cohen's question. I mean, if you're having 3 bridges concurrently, and I believe the project on 91 off of exit 16 will be finishing in 2030, is my understanding. So we have the north of Wallingford and 3 bridges on the south. Has also been contacted to see what the level of service will be for people going over the 68 bridge. If we have other approvals of warehouses going in, that traffic's going to have an impact on that. People will drive past those bridges. I know other people are doing that right now. They may not go with your detour, and they may take another venue trying to go over 68, which is the fastest egress ingress from over 91. Has those have been contacted for numbers, LOS numbers?
For traffic, for level of service you're referring to.
Yeah.
So we work directly with the traffic unit, not with, OSTA generally is for development coordination, but we're working directly with DOT's traffic unit. And we have been working with their forecast modeling unit to make sure that we are working with traffic volumes that are appropriate. And we will take your comment into consideration and go back and discuss with them those concerns and see if we have to add any additional technical requirements to the.
That feedback should be given back to the Planning and Zoning Commission as they're making decisions and other things, knowing what this process 5 years in the making here, how that's going to affect our decisions here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mary Mashinsky, State Representative for the 85th District.
Good evening.
Good evening. My question is about the bike lanes. Are they only distinguished by paint, or do you have anything else to protect bicyclists as they pass over the bridges?
So the current proposed section is not for an official bike lane. It is for a 5-foot paved shoulder with just a painted shoulder line. And that's primarily because there's no, feeding on either side of the bridges. So we wanted to be able to provide the space so that way, should there be future development along these roads on the town side, then the cross section is already there for the bridges and it doesn't have to be upgraded. So we're working with the DOT through the various units to provide the width necessary for those facilities.
Okay, so do you have a zebra stripe on one bridge and then a single line on the other two?
That's what we are currently proposing. In the East Center Street cross-section right now has that buffer, that 2.5-foot buffer. And that's primarily there so that way, if a sidewalk is ever desired on the north side, you would take those buffers away to build the sidewalk.
Okay.
So it just reallocates that cross-section. And, but based on the vehicle volume and speed on the roads, they don't trigger the need for separated bike lanes on these facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good. Not seeing anybody else in the audience wanting to ask. Oh, you got more?
I'll ask you one more question.
Okay. Oh, okay, the questions from the, okay. Thank you.
Jeff Cohen again, Planning and Zoning. You mentioned that there's the white-nosed bats. And it's a threatened species. Do they exist underneath those bridges? And if so, is that something that could potentially threaten your project? And what other provisions would you make to make sure they have the right habitat after the bridges are repaired?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Just to clarify, it is the northern long-eared bat, not the white-nosed bat. And currently, we are not anticipating there to be existence of bats under the bridge. There will be, qualified biologists going out in the field to confirm their presence. If they are there, we are conducting a programmatic consultation with the United States Fish and Wildlife Section, and they will provide us with what mitigation factors or what any tree clearing specifics to include within our contracts so that the design build contractor would follow those mitigation techniques. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Not hearing or seeing anybody getting up to ask any additional questions, this will conclude our presentation for this evening. I wanted to thank again everybody that came out tonight to join us in the audience, those who signed in on the Zoom chat, and for my fellow panel members and project team members who supported the presentation this evening. Thank you.